Chapter 19 of Tractate Shabbos predominantly discusses the laws of performing the act of circumcision, the bris milah, on Shabbos. The first Mishnah states, if you need to circumcise on Shabbos and you need to carry the knife, carry it exposed, and if it's a time of danger for the Jewish people where circumcision is forbidden, cover it before a witness. If there's no knife, you can even cut down a tree to be able to make coal to forge one. Others disagree, saying a preliminary to work that can be done before Shabbos may not be done on Shabbos. It can only be done on Shabbos if you aren't able to do it beforehand. The Gemara explains that the knife must be exposed to express love of the commandment of bris milah. When we say it needs witnesses when you cover it, that means one other person besides for you. It just says witnesses because they are legally qualified as witnesses. There's also a brief point on whether the prohibition against eating milk and meat applies to bird meat. We say it does apply, some didn't hold that. It also says that there was this city that followed these rulings about bris milah and the knife, and they were rewarded that they would only pass away in their proper times, and it was one of the only cities that wasn't included in the Romans' bans against the bris milah service. It further lists some points on the importance and significance of bris milah, and also repeats an earlier mentioned story about tefillin and a sage and dove wings that was said in this tractate. Some people once forgot the knife, so they carried it via adjoining roofs and courtyards as it was lying in an outdoor enclosure when Shabbos started. There's further discussion in dimensions of alleys and courtyards and similar, and carrying across them in this regard. We also said that not all preliminaries for mitzvahs can be done on Shabbos, and after some discussion it's said to be referring to tying tzitzis and putting on a mezuzah, as you're able to renounce ownership of them, thus giving them a unique status. The reason is not because they don't have a fixed time, as that just means every moment is their fixed time. Some of the mitzvahs we said you can do the preliminaries for on Shabbos were lulav and esrog, the omer, and the 2 loaves offering, which we bring sources for. We have to specify those 3, and not just lulav and esrog, as lulav is unique, as it requires 4 species. We also said the preliminaries of the mitzvah of the sukkah override Shabbos, and it's unique in a similar point as before, as unlike those offerings, it applies by nights and days. We also said that matzah is one of these, and that's unique, that it needs to be listed, as it's unique in that it applies to men and women the same. Then we said shofar too, and this one's also unique as it can't really be learnt from Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, as they give different attributes. Bris milah, of course, also has the status that its preliminaries can be done on Shabbos, and this is unique as 13 covenants were made over bris milah. There's debate over the source that bris milah overrides Shabbos, and we bring a few verses and opinions. We also said that the mitzvah of bris milah overrides the tzara'as leprosy prohibition, that you can do circumcision even if there's leprosy there, and we similarly debate over the source for this rule. It's mostly over the extraneous use of the word flesh in a verse, although some interpret it differently. There's further argument on this topic. We say we hold like the opinion that you can only do a preliminary for something if it could only have been done on Shabbos, and it's permissible by both bris milah, which has 13 covenants, and the paschal sacrifice, as the punishment for its non-fulfillment is the punishment of kares, so both are unique. New Mishnah. You can do all the necessities for circumcision on Shabbos. You can do all of the steps of the actual circumcision, draw the blood, put a bandage, and therapeutic spices. Cumin, for instance, which if not crushed can be chewed and applied. If you didn't mix wine and oil before Shabbos, you can just pour them both into a bowl, one after the other, for medication. You can't prepare a special bandage, but you can wrap a cloth, and if you don't have one, you can wrap it around your finger and bring it over, even from a different courtyard. The Gemara explains some details. Some hold that the moil does not return to cut off non-impeding shreds of foreskin after the circumcision, and there's argument over who holds this. Some say that these pieces are required to be removed. The removal of the blood and the cumin and bandage are all required, as it's dangerous if you don't do them, and you should dismiss a moil who doesn't do these steps. It also lists many medicinal salves and similar for these kinds of things. It also gets into a point about allowing straining eggs through a mustard strainer, but not mustard, as that looks like sorting. We also say no sweetening mustard with a burning coal on a holiday, if it's wooden, as it could have been done before the holiday without it getting worse after. Similarly, cheese cannot be made on a holiday, as it's actually better if it's made before. It lists the practice of proper bandage placement and other things to keep the baby healthy, and similar medical and nursing advice, such as that if the baby is the wrong color, too red or too yellow, meaning there's a blood-related problem, you should delay until the baby looks normal. There's a story about this happening. New Mishnah. You can bathe a baby in hot water before and after the circumcision. You can sprinkle water on it by hand, but not with a utensil. Some say you can even bathe the baby on the 3rd day after the circumcision if it falls out on Shabbos, based on a verse. A premature baby, we cannot violate Shabbos on its behalf. There's an argument by an androgynous, a baby with both male and female organs. The Gemara says that the point about sprinkling water could actually be about, and an argument with, bathing on the third day. It would disagree with the verse, which was about the people of Shechem being circumcised and in pain during the third day, as babies heal faster than adults. We bring an incident in regards to this dispute, and there are further arguments between hot water that was heated on or before Shabbos. We also say that while you can't put hot water and oil on a wound on Shabbos, you can put it next to the wound and let it flow towards the wound. This is where there's no issue of squeezing, and by an old cloth, as new cloths cause healing. The points and details on circumcision are debated further. Some actually say that if the mother didn't become impure from childbirth, you do circumcision immediately, not on the 8th day based on a verse. We say we disagree, as the law was established as 8 days once the Torah was given. This is argued on further. This goes further also about animals and whether they're viable for things like slaughter until after 8 days. There's debate in this regard about gestation periods. This gets into an adjacent point on chalitza and the Levirate marriage. It also debates the point on whether we can circumcise an androgynous. By other laws, an androgynous isn't really considered to fall under the qualifications of a definite male, but here, by the laws of bris milah, they are, as the verse says, to circumcise all your males, all including an androgynous. New Mishnah. If you have 2 infants to circumcise, one on Shabbos and one after, and you accidentally circumcise the one for after Shabbos on Shabbos, you're liable. If you had 2 infants, one to circumcise on Shabbos and one on Friday, and you do the Friday one on Shabbos, some say you're liable, some say you're exempt. The Gemara says that some hold you're liable by the first case, and we hold you're exempt by the second. And the debate is based on if you hold this is comparable to a case of idolatry, that if done inadvertently you're liable, or it's not comparable as you're actually doing a mitzvah here. Others, on the other hand, say that in the first case of the Mishnah, you're exempt, with the same dispute and logic of the second case. This is debated further. New Mishnah. A bris milah can happen on the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th day. No earlier or later, though. 8th is the normal day. If born on twilight, it's on the 9th day. If twilight on Shabbos Eve, it's on the 10th day. If a holiday fell out the day after that Shabbos, it's the 11th day. And if the holiday was like Rosh Hashanah, which has 2 days, we wait 12 days. This is because you cannot override a holiday for a postponed circumcision. If the child was sick, we wait until he gets healthy. The Gemara says, after its fever is over, we wait 7 days. This is 7 full 24 hours. New Mishnah. Any shreds of flesh that cover the larger part of the corona must be removed, and if not, you're invalidated from eating teruma. If the child is fleshy and still looks uncircumcised, you should touch it up so it looks properly. If you did the circumcision but didn't uncover it, it doesn't count. The Gemara defines these qualifications. It also lists the blessings said by a bris milah. And that's the end of chapter 19.